No, that's not it.
That's not the right.
Let's play the music.
That's the
All right,
right.
if you hear that music, Mike, it means that I probably hit the right button. I thought I hit the right button.
That is not the right button.
All right, if it's Tuesday, it means only one thing, and that's time for Comic Book School Live, the show that talks to you about the craft and business of making comic. My name is Buddy Scalera, and this is Mike Fasolo, and we've got a really good show tonight. We've been doing Crime Comics Month, focusing on everything you need to know if you, like me, want to make crime-based comic books. Not the thing, right, Mike?
No, not the same. We got a bunch of comments already.
Already? All right, bring them up.
Yeah. Got Matthew Giff. Also has an 8-pack at the ready. I mean, 8-pack of Crayola crayons, of course.
Crayola crayons, only an 8-pack.
Yeah. Redheaded Ed's got the 24-pack.
It's the frickin' crayons.
24-pack crayons aren't nearly as chunky as the 8-pack, thus making them an inefficient choice for drawing on my walls.
Did he just call me chunky?
He's, yeah, I believe he did. This is, wow, these guys are.
Yeah, we have a Discord. We haven't turned it on.
Crime rules.
Crime rules. Jeff is right. Crime does rule.
Yep. We got Victor Medina. He's here.
You know, we featured Victor this weekend.
We did. I saw that. He's got some good stuff going.
Yeah, he's pretty good. All right, speaking of pretty good, let's get to who we are. So my name is Buddy Scalera. I am the creator of Comic Book School, and I've written some comic books and published some stuff. And my partner here is Mike Fasolo, and he's written some stuff and won some awards and stuff like that. So you know us, and you know that we're doing Crime Month. Crime Month has been epic. So if you like what you see tonight, or you're remotely interested in crime, or really interested in crime, or excited about the crime comic book that I'm going to end up writing, you're going to want to check out these episodes. We're going to tie them all together, and they are a lot of fun. And tonight we have a very old friend and somebody who contributed to Comic Book School very, very early in the process, Mike. I mean, one of the earliest. He's going to come in, and he taught me a thing or two about education at live events. He used to come to the live events and teach.
Okay. Sounds good.
He's darn impressive, and he's here to talk with you about how to color crime. Please welcome my friend and yours, Brian Haberlin.
Hey, everybody.
Brian, welcome to the show. We're very excited to have you. I looked back. Comic Book School is now 20 years old.
Nice.
But you were doing comics education with me before that. I mean, you've been contributing to the education of comic book creators for a very long time.
This is my 20th year teaching at Minneapolis College of Art and Design.
And when I was putting out CD-ROMs, you were putting out digital art tutorials. I mean, you were like way ahead of the curve.
Yeah, digital art tutorial still exists. It's up there, and most of the stuff is free now. That's up there, so people can download all kinds of stuff. It's a little aged, but you know, it's good. And I plan on doing some more stuff. You know, I just started my coloring class at MCAD, so I'm into the coloring zone right now. I can talk about
in your free time, Brian. Because hold on, let's just pull this up because Brian's got. For people who are not yet familiar with Brian. Let's take a quick tour through his storied career. Brian, probably most people knew you when you burst onto the scene with Top Cow, working there, doing coloring and art. You worked within McFarlane's studio, I believe, doing coloring. You're a revolutionary colorist, but you're also an illustrator. You wrote a long run on Spawn. You've published your own titles. You've published your own art book.
I'll correct you for a second. I drew Spawn for 2 years. I was editor-in-chief there for 3. David Hine was my writer on my run.
It's hard to keep up with you, Brian. I mean, you know, I did my best. I checked up Wikipedia. I looked at your website. There was just too much.
I'm here. I can, you know.
There's too much. There's just too much. And wait, speaking of too much, you gave us a number today while we were starting. The number is 2,759. Brian, what does this number represent?
That's how many sequential interior art pages I've done in the last 15 years.
Just a few.
Wait, how does that math out? Like, how many are you doing? Are you sleeping and you're still drawing? Like, how is that possible?
Well, I mean, if you just look at like, all the books I've done through Image from Faster and Light, that was 10 issues, right? So that's 10. And I usually go over 20 pages. I usually do 24 or more because it's my book, right? I can do whatever I want. Jim Valentine will just get mad at me sometimes if he goes like, give me space for some ads, okay? And it's like, so, you do one of those for a year and you do it monthly, that's, already 200 something and not even counting covers, right?
Wow.
And then, did the first book in Anomaly, was this big ass, the
Yeah, hold on.
longest,
That was we
the,
have
long,
Anomaly here. Yep.
the longest full color graphic novel ever done, big 300 and something pages of this,
Yeesh.
That's a lot.
and then there's another one of these.
Hold it up again, Brian. I got you on full screen there. Hold on. Hold that up. It's like bodybuilding.
Oh, it's great because you can also use it as a weapon if you need
Yeah, that's
to.
how you stay fit and
It will
strong.
prevent most edged weapons.
Yeah, yeah. It's like a shield,
So,
like a Captain America shield.
yeah.
Oh, got Dan Riley.
Dan Riley calling you out there as covering
Coloring for
coloring
Wizard
wizard.
covers as well.
Yep. Absolutely.
Do you sleep, Brian?
I'm pretty fast, which helps.
Yeah. Well, we have a demo from you that we're going to be showing as well. And okay, so let be since we're here. Okay, so
Because you had to be fast when we started coloring and stuff and working at Marvel and stuff, you had to be a colorist who could color 3 pages or more a day, you know, because quite often you would get like, oh yeah, here's the book. We need these 10 pages tomorrow. And it's like, editor, I'm pretty sure the penciler and inker didn't dump 10 pages of this on you at one time. You did not get them from, you
You're
did
the
not,
last line of
you were
defense,
doing
right?
something else.
You and the letterer would be all nighters, right?
Yeah, we were the catchers of the industry is how I always referred to it.
Well, and then I will add. Hold on, I'm going to put myself big here. Brian contributed to my book, the coloring section. So if you guys remember the creating comics from start to finish, Brian contributed to this book. I think you were working on Anomaly, and you were showing the art process on this wonderfully out of print book. Which one day maybe I'll put it back into print or something. So
Yeah, you can
that
just do
people
that with
can.
Amazon Direct now.
I know, but I don't get any money.
Huh.
I got to repackage it anyway. So there's other stuff because Brian, you are also a fine artist, and you've done sculpture, which you can see here in the center of the page. You've got your book on watercolor painting, multiple books on watercolor painting. You've got the watercolors. You've got. I can't think of an exhibit that looks more California than the one that you're standing in front of right there.
That is the Laguna Beach Festival of the Arts.
It is. It's like outdoor. It's beautiful, perfect weather, showing art.
It's for two. It's so funny because when I first got, because my family used to go down there. I grew up in Southern California, but more inland in a place called La Cañada. But we had friends who had a house in Laguna Beach, and when I was a little kid, we'd go. They let us have it for like a week, and stuff. And so I always loved Laguna Beach, and we've been going to this festival for decades. And just a few years ago, I thought, oh, let's see if we can get it. It's a juried art thing. There's 150 artists in there. And I got in, and then they go, okay, and it goes for 2 months, goes from July, beginning of July to end August. I go, no, normally I go to a show and it's like the weekend and I can go home. But it's a great group of people. They're really nice, active, and supporting artists and stuff. And it's also just kind of was a checkbox for my history. Oh, it would be cool to be in that show. Okay, I'm in that show. So, and I love it. And that'll be my third year starting this year in that show.
So what's the quote there, Mike?
I've got a comment from Victor. He says, I bought one of Brian's CDs on how to color at a con. Yeah, CD. Blew my mind and didn't think I'd be able to do it. Still can't.
Wow. And then you also do 3-dimensional. Is this resin? Because I think you'd said this was resin.
No, that one is PLA. So like PLA, that's filament. So these are the kind of ones that come out of You have long tubes of plastic that feed into the machine, are melted and put on a nozzle, and the nozzle builds up the layer by layer by layer.
You are you are an artist, aren't you?
Does everything.
He
I, I get
is like a Renaissance artist.
I get bored easily, and then this is like from one of the new books I'm working on, Love Inc. This is one of the characters.
Mike, don't you wish you could get bored and generate something like that?
Yeah, I'd be like, oh, I don't have anything to do today, so
Let
I'll
me
just
make a
make a statue.
librarian lady with wings.
But yeah, so but again, I was always pioneering the 3D methods. That's also why I'm so fast with sequential, because I do almost an animation setup. And
Well,
then,
yeah, I remember you in your books, like the workflows that you innovated were incredible. Oh, you're going to show me something else?
well, I was just gonna. I mean, this is like another one of the more fine arty sculptures, but it just made so much sense to me because I've been doing 3D since the Amiga days, and it's like I can go to a show, have a comic, have a sculpt of the character, also, or send that out to comic shops as promo, send
Jeez.
them little bits and stuff like that. So it was just like a no-brainer, and I can animate, the characters and lip sync and all that stuff. So they're great for advertising the books, and it just seems like a workflow. I was always, when I first joined in '93, I was at Top Cow. That's why I kept going. Well, Pixar's doing this shit. Why are we still drawing this stuff? It's like Pixar and these other companies are let's hybrid some of this stuff.
I'd appreciate if you were good at
eSun
something you were
Plus.
not good at. What filament?
Someone asked about filament. Is it
Yes. What
eSun
filament
Plus?
do you use?
eSun Plus, PLA.
I wouldn't know if that was the right answer or not, Mike.
Yeah. Redheaded Eds. That's my new hero. Sorry, bud.
Don't be sorry. That's why I brought him on. I am delighted that Brian was able to join us. And Brian, we're going to do some real work here. We're going to be talking about process. And Brian, you've given us some amazing material to start with. This looks like your notebooks. You want to just talk to us about what we're looking at here, so that we get a footing for what we're about to
So
see.
this is from one of my series that I co-wrote with. I did the art for it and co-wrote with David Hine, and The Marked, which is basically the premise. It was an image book. Was there a coven of witches whose spell books are literally tattooed on their bodies. And these are layouts for a couple of pages of that. So it always starts with, pencil and paper. Even when I'm designing characters to use in these environments, it always starts, because if you don't have that sort of roadmap, it will just screw you up. I mean,
So why start on pencil and paper?
Well, mostly because I guess I'm old school. Because I've been an illustrator since I was 18, and that was before computers and before that kind of stuff. So, and there's just something freeing about it and gestural, because like some of like if you look at that top panel, I mean that's just super quick, but what's great about that is that energy that's in there. So when you do a gestural sketch, that's almost then your roadmap. Okay, when I finally do the final thing, because that's what happens to a lot of artists. They get stiff. You want to have somewhere along the line the thing you can look back at and that has the life in it and the quick life, that you inject into it.
So Brian, we ask this of a lot of artists. How long do you spend on? Would you call these your thumbs, basically?
Yeah. Well, the layouts.
How long do you spend on your thumbs approximately?
I'll usually do kind of, I pretty much work 9 to 5 in the studio. But if I'm working on layouts, I'll do layouts in front of the TV that night, and bring them in the next day. And so, I mean, that's probably half hour to an hour's worth of doodle in there.
But I don't see a lot of. I mean, maybe because maybe you've gone through a couple of versions. I don't see any erasing. I just see like a very confident layout.
Yeah, no. If I do that, I'll if I'm not confident, then this will go back into the computer and I'll start cutting up the panels and moving shit around in Photoshop.
Now, with a setup scene like the way you have it, I mean, specifically over here, you've got you're opening with, a large, wide, several planes. It looks like at least one, two, three, four, about four planes, and then you smash in close, and then again, you're even closer, and then you go to a two shot. What's your strategy when you're telling a story? Is it just organic, or are you planning this out the way you set up these shots?
Well, and even if when we talk about some of the coloring for crime stuff, it's I take a cinematic approach, but I've also been blessed in that when I started even though I started the job was to start Top Cow's computer coloring department. It was homage, so it was Wildstorm, it was Wills, and it was Mark, all in an open floor plan in Mira Mesa, San Diego. And if you weren't a jerk, you could walk around and sit behind Scott Williams while he's inking. The new kids on the block that were there were Jeff Campbell, Dave Finch, Joe Benitez, Brandon Peterson, and Travis Charis. And everyone was out to do better than one another, but in a way that, you're not, because it's always like this misnomer about art, right? It's like, oh, art's not a competition. No, it's a competition, and you want your competitors to be so badass that it drives you to get better. You want to have Foreman, Ali, and Frazier. That's what you want. You want those guys. And so I was blessed in being able to learn from all of them, and then blessed to learn from Todd McFarlane. And when I was editor in chief, I had Greg Capullo in my back pocket, and just pay attention. And then the people that I've been, I've been so blessed with the people that I've been able to work with, dear Mike Turner, when Mike was around. And it was fun because Mike was like me. It was like, because when he started, he was fine, but he was doing like backgrounds for Mark. And he got better and better. And then because I was older, I would like, oh, check this out. Oh, check out Kia Asamiya. Oh, check out some of this manga stuff. Oh, check out this stuff that he's never seen before. And Mike was like a sponge, because Mike was also, which again I think is a great way to think about it, is Mike was also at one point, he was a kickboxer, so he was an athlete, and he understood training. He understood practice. He understood trying to get better. And we did the Ballistic miniseries before Witchblade, and that's where all of a sudden his art went, like that. And it was like, yeah, Mike's going to be our Witchblade artist, because now Mike is and the sweetest guy in the world. But I've got to learn from the best. I mean, Todd McFarlane and I, even when I was coloring, when we were done with the book, we would go over the whole book, because he learned from Jim Salkrup that you don't edit on the front end screwing up deadlines stuff. Oh, change that. Let the team that you staffed that's good do their work. At the end, say, let's have more of that. Let's not do so much of that anymore, and stuff. And that way it doesn't impede on deadlines, and it doesn't impede. It just is a great work. And that's the way Todd worked with me. I had one time when we're doing the Spawn, he was doing the Spawn movie, and I just finished whatever issue it was. I was down on the set for the movie, driving down the bus to get to the set with John Leguizamo in full clown costume behind me, and getting notes from Todd on that issue.
Wow.
And Todd is one of those guys he's the guy I need to pull a book from on how to, because Todd is one of those guys. Jim can tell you how to draw like Jim. Mark can show you how to draw like Mark, right? Todd can tell you how every aspect of sequential art works, whether you're a realistic or a cartoonist, more funny animal type thing. He understands it all. He can tell you. We've had hours of description on how panel borders work and how they affect to slow story or build story or do it. I've had a 3-hour conversation with him on word balloons.
Wow.
He is amazing with this stuff.
Well, you're pretty amazing too. There's a question here.
Whose pages were the hardest to color?
ones that weren't good. If someone like, I mean, for example, um, you know, Greg Capullo, especially during Spawn, uh, Greg understood light and shadow, and so he's coloring his work was like breathing. It was just like, okay, I just need to pick my color of my light source there, because I always think like a cinematographer. So I always think like, oh, I'm going to do warm light or cool light or what's going to affect the rest of the environment and stuff. But Greg gave me a base that always had shading in the right direction. All of a sudden there wasn't, a light coming on this side of the nose, which is supposed to be shaded, even though I'm shading down on this, side and stuff. So yeah, as Joe Chido always used to say, is you can't polish a turd.
We could try.
I will not name any turds because I mostly never worked on turds pretty much. I was, again, blessed when I was coloring. The easiest color book that I've ever done, the fastest one I've ever done, I did the entire book in one day, and that was Black Panther #1, Marvel Knights.
Wow.
Because Tex did full shaded artwork. So really, I was just tinting at the end of the day. You'll see it because I gave you some of the pages.
Yeah, you gave me some. So let's add this back, because one of the things that you've taught me, or taught in one of my comic book school classes, was this idea that you pick a color for the scene. So we see you now coming into a more rendered version of your sketches. You want to talk about this?
Yeah. So again, this is the next day. So these are the black and whites. Again, I'll probably inked in. This is all digital. So inked in Photoshop and maybe Clip. If I'm lazy, I'd ink it in Photoshop. If I want to do really nice inking, then Clip Paint's the best place to do that. And so, and just start breaking it down and float some panels and then hand that off to, I always feel I was blessed because I hooked up so many artists during my coloring career to have Jared Van Dyke, who's been my colorist for the last, I always go over everything at the end of the day too, but he is my heavy lifter when it comes to this stuff for color.
Now, you are doing this in Photoshop. How?
So I have a shader that I built. So everything, all those characters are animatable. They're all 3D models. The environments are 3D models, and I'll bring them in and I'll ink them. So I use almost a 3D like pencil, like that's almost my pencil stage.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. I mean, but
yeah,
what are your tools? You were an early Wacom user, right?
Yeah.
So what are you doing? You doing this on your Wacom? What's your?
Yeah, I have a Cintiq. I'm looking
Cintiq.
at you from my Cintiq right now.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean, I still remember in the early days when we always wanted that stuff. I remember one of the very first ones on the Amiga, which I kind of miss. It was a tablet that the tablet itself was pressure sensitive. So you put a piece of paper on it and a pencil or whatever, and that's how you could draw with it. And that's old Amigas. It never made it back to the PCs. But yeah, I remember when I was always pushing that stuff. Even when I first got down to the Wildstorm guys because a lot of them were still using mice to color back in those early days.
Yeeks. Now, you wouldn't have needed to make this much background, Brian. I mean, the stairwell and all of the girders.
You gotta have the environment, right?
Why do you go to such? Considering how many pages you draw per year, why so much detail?
Well, that was the establishing shot anyway. So, okay. You can cheat everything else. Like on a new book that I'm working on that I really can't mention. The guy I'm working with was like, it's like, make sure, it's don't not too much detail all over the place. It's like, give us time to breathe. And if you go to the color part, you'll see where Jared would knock some of those blacks back, and do nice framing. Like, I mean, look at that side light on that second panel is just,
Which one? This one? Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
really helps, separate the rest of that panel, and really kind of the rest of you can see, like, even though it's dimensionalized, the rest of the stuff kind of, it fits now, again, because we've worked so many years together. We know what the other one needs and wants during the stuff.
Now, how do you get an effect like the hands that you've done here? How do you do that?
Well, first you have to sacrifice a goat, and then it's I have classes on special effects. It's just essentially a couple different layers. It's an overlay layer and a screen layer, and you can paint stuff, move stuff around with smudge tool. I actually have a little bit of a library that's almost like a clip art library that I can throw down and then warp things, move things around, so I'm not always working from scratch. Uh, but again, that shows, if you go down to the third panel, that shows how good Jared is. See that? Move it up a little bit more. See that reflection of the light
Yeah.
on the floor there? That's not in my line art, and that's always something that I was always taught to do, go after when I first started as a colorist. It's like, because that was one of the great things about, again, starting at Homage, where it was like everyone's job was clear that it was to better the product, to try and level it up one more step, nudge it a little bit more, and even when I'm teaching my coloring class, I try and teach them, think about how that light would work. Think about how that would flip that around. Think about how you can separate things that way, both in from stylistic things to story things.
Now, one of the things I remember you teaching when you were teaching comic book school classes, and maybe you mentioned even my book, is you find a color theme for a scene.
Well, that I learned that, and actually, I'm trying to find a page from this thing that I was going to put in it. Let me see, where is it? So from that was something that actually came from Steve Olaf, and then from Steve through Joe Chido to me back in those days. But this was actually funny because when I was, because I'm friends with both those guys now, and Steve. Oh, okay, so this is it. So this is where Steve Olaf got all his young artist coloring tricks from. This is an old Walter Foster, which used to exist, and most kids have no idea what these are. And there were always these tutorial little pamphlet books, right? And one of them is about mother color.
Huh.
And so mother color is the cinematic base of, like, if you look at, if I pull out like pages from one of my books, you'll see each scene.
Well, actually, we have that spread that you gave me. Let me just jump ahead to that.
If you look at them as thumbnails.
Yeah, let me pull the thumbnails up.
Cliff notes for colorists.
Yeah.
All right. So this was something that you wanted to share.
So this is a perfect example of what we're talking about. So this is Architects of Fear, which was a Spawn graphic novel that I had put out when I was editor-in-chief, by Alexei Briclot, who's a very famous concept designer. But these are pages from the book, and you can see, like, if you look through the first chunk, it's pretty much grays, but in the mother color. You go to the next three, we have blues going on, and you can see how each scene is delineated by a mother color, by a source color. And that helps in, also letting readers know that we're in a different place now, but also, if you look at any great cinematography, like there are a bunch of sites where you can pull down from animation and feature film stuff. They've already cut up all the frames I just shared one with my class. I can't remember what it is now, but if you Google search it, you can find them. And they have like, entire Disney animated films and stuff. And you can see this happening in the frames because they'll have all the frames from the movie. A great place to learn this stuff is going. I always tell young colorists to look at your favorite cinematographers, and how they light a scene, because if you do that, then it's easy to have the rest of the scene set up because I know where my light is, I know where I know that color, I know what my ambient color is going to be reflecting my shadow condition, and you can just go boom, 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 boom. It makes it very easy too.
Do you sometimes look at the pagination like this just to get a sense of the scene breaks and see what you see from a macro view?
Oh yeah, always. Well, not always, but quite often on my, because it was an old Top Cow thing. I remember when Mark would finish a page, it would go up on the wall of his area in the office, and so you keep seeing the pages, right? And especially when you do a graphic novel, it's not. I'm kind of fine with it on 22 pages and stuff like that. But if I start doing a graphic novel, I really want to see, where that stuff is going and because also with, a lot of, young artists don't think about is page turns, because you don't want to have, we got the 2 pages, we got, this is the negative. So we got 1 and 2, and you don't want to have a reveal on 1 when you could see 2. When you can see what the thing is, the character down here going, "Oh my God, what's that?" And you can see it right over here. You want to make sure that's on the page, and then there's a page turn for the drama. So that's important. I think for that.
Do you look at this pagination? So as I look at this pagination, the first thing that comes to my mind is I just made the wrong thing big. The second thing is, um, as a writer, Brian, do you look at this and go, one scene might be too long, or because you can look, that yellow scene seems to be going on, although it breaks with blue over here. Do you look at this and kind of count your scenes out to see how your pacing is as well?
No, that's more with the, to me, it's more important that just like all the blocks are in the right place, more than anything else. Because, I like dialogue. And so I'll often pull a scene a couple more pages just for, have a good character conversation with a couple of people. I mean, those are my favorite scenes from movies, are the ones that half of them have nothing to do with driving the story. At the end of the day, is just like this little bit. Like I always love the scene in Jaws where Roy Scheider's at the table with his kid, and the kid's mimicking him, and then kind of doing those and bits on the ship with the guys, with Dreyfus and Robert Shaw, and character bits, because you got to have room for that stuff. So I'm not going to especially too, not so much there, but for everything I've been doing for the last 15 years, is they're my books. I can make it 28 pages. I can make it 26 pages. I can, why not? If I need that 1 page now, like to stretch that thing out, I'm going to do it.
Redheaded Ed said the Pixar exhibit showed this with their films. The incredible storyboards show this mother color in each scene.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yep. Every scene. That's again the great, again, things that show. And again, this is an ancient thing. These are some of the wonderful secrets. Color surprise, adjacent colors, gray to rest the eye.
Like it's all down there. All the information's there. It's just you just got to go to eBay and find a copy of it.
Yeah, I got it cheap too. It was good. But yeah, that was from Steve Oliff. And if people don't know who Steve Oliff is, Google Steve. Steve is one of the best colorists ever to do it, and he was the first, one of the very, very first digital colorists with Akira.
Well, Brian, you're my favorite. All right, here we go. So we're gonna pull back because you had mentioned. Let me just pull this off the screen real quick to Mike vamp for a second. I gotta set
Oh,
up the
geez. Well,
slide.
we got some comments up here, some questions too. Did the character color palettes dictate the background color you use?
So a character's color, like let's say Superman. So it's blue, red, a little bit of yellow. That's what we call local color. Since I tend to teach cinematic color, I will have light color affect those colors. So they sit in an environment. So the blue, if it's being hit by, there's a sunset behind him, you're going to have warm light coming in and then cool light in his shadow. So they the local color is important to know what it is, but at the end of the day, I'm going to have it sit in an environment that's more realistic or even a little more amped up, with some warm, cool palette choices, or other way, cool, warm.
Hmm. Hmm. Jeff Yoon says he's been watching some Steve Olaf videos this week.
I think if you do a search on YouTube, there's a class that Steve and I teach together. That's probably still
Oh.
up.
Now, Brian, wait, you'd said that your digital tutorials are available still in
Yeah,
archive?
and they're mostly free. I think there's only one that I charge for. So my entire library up there.
Wow.
Uh, uh, it's all Photoshop. Well, it's not all Photoshop. There's some other things, but you'll pull up, you'll see a older version of Photoshop, but pretty much the same thing.
The principles are the same. Okay. Were there any other questions, Mike? Because we're about to jump into the next thing.
Nope, we're good.
All right, good. All right, here we go. So we're going to add to the scene. You were talking about Black Panther, Brian. So take us through what we're looking at here, and then the progression. Obviously, we're going to get into the coloring part.
Black Panther #1. That was when I left Top Cow in '95. I was exclusive there, and like everybody wanted me to work with them. And Jimmy and Joe flew me out because they were starting Marvel Knights at Marvel, and one of the books we did Daredevil, we did Punisher, we did Black Panther, we did a bunch of stuff. And Black Panther was Mark Texeira doing fully shaded work like this. And this is the easiest type of work to color because it's all there. I'm just making color choices. I'm not rendering anymore. I'm just shading and separating and bringing background stuff. And as a result of this, this is the fastest book I ever colored too in my career. I did the entire book in 1 day.
Wow. This is an incredible page.
Yeah.
Oh, when Mark is firing on all cylinders, Mark is firing on all cylinders.
All right. So next step,
fully shaded. So if you look at, go ahead, go to the.
Yeah, I was going to say, let me go to the next one because this is where you start to what? This is called flatting, Brian?
Well, that's more than flatting. That actually was my color layer.
Oh,
and then putting the two things together.
I jumped automatically to the next slide. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right. So talk to us about what we're looking at here.
So the middle one is basically, normally, I'll have the black line on top in a layer in a multiply mode. I've removed it so you can see this is my color layer. And that's all that's there. And normally, you'll notice that like there's big kind of broad airbrush hits and stuff like that. I didn't have to, be careful about anything because I knew how it was going to sit under Mark's art, would just hide some of it. So really it is a mix of coloring and tinting. So that's why it was so fast to do.
Okay. Now, what I did was I zoomed in again a little bit more so that we could really get a look of what's going on here. I mean, you make it sound easy, and I know it's not easy. What's really happening when you're doing this blocking, and then you're going into this final coloring rendering. I think you once told me you start dark and then you build up lighter. Talk to us about how you're actually doing this.
Yeah, that's more of a you know, everyone has their own way of working, and I always, when I teach people, I want them to find, you know, their way, light to dark, or you know, a base color palette, or you know, it's even the same thing when I teach inking. You know, are you a thrower or are you a puller when you're inking? You know, if I ink a lot, I can do both, but generally people are going to be one or the other, which is the same thing, light to dark, or dark to light, when you're working on this stuff. So I would have had flats from somebody who was doing flats for us back then, which would just be flats, would just be pure colors. So all these bits that you see, there's some shading and stuff on, they would normally just be a solid color. And so I was just trying to, you know, bring out the shapes a bit more than with a soft airbrush for most of it, I think. I don't think there's a lot of selections going on there. It looks like, because Mark's line art was so full, I didn't have to worry about edges so much. I would have, like, if you look at the bracers, you know, on Black Panther, there's just like a few basic airbrush hits on them, which, you know, just gives me a little light and dark on those bands that he has. Again, this was the 90s, so it's a little too shiny. I wouldn't definitely not have colored it this way now. But it was the 90s, so
But it was of the time, and I remember this book coming out, and like this was Priest, right? Priest was writing this.
Yeah.
It was a phenomenal book. I mean,
Yeah.
it held up for all the right reasons, and they put the right creative team on it. And
Well, that was all the Marvel Knights books. I mean, come on. It's funny here. There's a little side story. So we do most of the anaglyph conversions for Marvel. You know, when I talk about anaglyph conversions, I mean these things, right? And the most recent one we got was, and my son is working with me now. The most recent one we got was Marvel Knights Daredevil #1. So he's doing the 3D conversion on that, and his name is going to be in the book now with his father's from back in the 90s.
Nice.
on your Instagram, I saw you had one where you show the 3D glasses, and then when the 3D glasses go over it, it's like a skull. Like, if you guys don't follow Brian on Instagram, you're missing out. And I put the link in the show notes and everything. But some of the stuff you post is just incredible, and it's like it's a tutorial every day. Every day there's some sort of tutorial there. All right, let's keep moving so that we're able to get to all the cool stuff that you have to share. Now, you gave us a couple of other examples. I pulled this one, put it on its own page. What are we looking at here, Brian?
Well, this is again, just if we talk about color and how color can affect things, this was a flashback page from a book that I have almost done, called Fury Formula. And this is a flashback to, the woman in it is basically related to Jack the Ripper at the end of the day, and this is good old Jack. And this was using what Steve Olaf would call color surprise. So you have, like, if you look at the top part of the page, you have this dual chromatic kind of thing going on, and that's all fine and everything. But then you go to the pure graphic. I mean, because it's not realistic, right? It's just a pure graphic shape of the blood, you know, which has a great dynamic push to it, you know. And that's one of the things when we think about crime stuff, even though we haven't talked so much, is really about hitting those kind of notes. You know, my instinct is always, like, if I look, like, this is one of my favorite book covers that I designed when I was at McFarlane.
Oh, I have that.
So
Yeah.
we went with the full, like, pulp, you know, kind of old cover style, beautiful Greg Capullo painting. He was doing a lot of digital painting back then, you know, but a lot of monochromatic. Again, when you think of crime stuff, you think film noir, right? So you think of a subdued palette, but then with like a little bit of color. So Gray's got like the light coming in from the window and stuff. But notice he didn't go like 90%. If I handed this to some of my kids to color or something, these gun blasts would be these bright orange reds, which would just pull the eye in these two different directions, from there to there, instead of focusing on Sam and Twitch here in the middle, you know. So it's really about balancing in the storytelling and using focus that way,
Well, you do a lot of focus in. All right, so back in this image, there is a lot of focus and a lot of balance to this. Obviously, the illustrator is a major part of it, but what makes this
Well, it's
work
just
as noir?
I just Dutch. This is a cheat sheet. This is I Dutch angled it. That's always something that will give you a little bit of because one of the best lessons I ever learned from Todd McFarlane was okay, so your comic book page is like this, right? So it's a rectangle, right? And then you got your panels, and your panels are for the most part they're rectangles too, and stuff. You don't want these lines, which are essentially the lines from the page, line from the panels, to be mirrored in those interior of the pages. You want there to be dynamics there. You want perspective, you want Dutch angles, which would then go against that side and provide visual interest. It's a great cheat. The Dutch angles is a real cheat. The better way is to do it, again, think, foreground, middle ground, background, that kind of stuff for dynamics. Think perspective,
All right, so because not everybody knows what a Dutch angle is, do you want to just explain what a Dutch angle is?
just taking the image and turn it. So that was if you took that and made it straight, where he was like just straight up.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, he's angled. The Dutch angle is just turning.
And that's to show that the world is a little askew, right?
It can do that, but it can also just give you dynamics. It does. Yes, it definitely can do that, and that's where it's often used in film and cinema. But yeah, it gives you those lines that don't match up with this, so it's not static. The more lines you have in a page that match up with the rest of your lines, the more static your pages are going to be.
Now, how different would this art be, Brian, if you had colored everything rather than having the monochromatic deep background, the black figure, and then just the red popping? How would this have been? Would it have been less effective, or what?
It would have been apples and oranges. I think this works. I think this works better. Just going graphic with it. I am pretty sure that this was a promo piece for the book done before, so it's not in the book itself. I believe it is rendered more realistically. Like you'll see snow.
It's kind of creepy, though, right, Mike? It's got a.
It is very creepy. This totally works for me because it's everything else is black and white, and then you have that giant splash of red, and he's not spilling tomato juice. He's doing something bad.
Yeah.
Matthew Jeff says, do you drawing these straight, then just skew it in Photoshop?
No, he was definitely designed that way. But that's something that sometimes I will do if I notice something's getting static or not working quite right. And you can't do too much of it. Again, it's like whenever I teach anything, it's like students always overdo it. So it's like you get like, all right, we got a Dutch angle that way. Now we got a Dutch angle this way. Now we got a Dutch angle. It's like you got to use these things sparingly.
Yeah, they're like special effects in a movie, right, Brian?
Well, or it's even like symbols. It's like it's like you want to have the timing go off. This was some pages from Hellcop, and this kind of again is very much because it was the first miniseries is a mystery, a murder mystery with sci-fi elements, of course. But this really kind of plays into that sort of noir storytelling I was talking about. a subdued palette. But tricks too, like if you go back over to that first page and go down the bottom, you'll see so those are two of the bad guys. We don't want to give away who they are. So we silhouette them. That's another.
Yeah, you've backlit them, but you've made their eyes pop so that it's clear that they're facing you.
Yeah. So you get that. Because it's all about focus and reveals when it comes to the crime stuff. It's about moving the eye and stuff. Like there was if you look at the third page, at this point some shit's going down, so he's getting a little paranoid and stuff. And what was between the panels, the third and the second, third, and fourth, we actually had a sound effect. So he was hearing someone coming behind him, and then he turned, but it wasn't. It was just a couple. It wasn't, any big bad kind of thing, But then there's also an example on that last panel of chiaroscuro, which is again another painting technique where you have the light to dark, to dark to separate things. So you have that edge light is hitting him, separating from that background stairs.
I didn't even notice the effect until you said. Did you notice the effect until he said it?
No.
He's playing tricks on your eyes. All right, now I picked up this panel again because it's a continuation of the scene, but the tonality is shifted. I noticed. So this is the last page, and then it moves into this scene, which I guess the same character, just a different scene.
Yeah, and this is where we have the reveal that his partner has been killed. But I also did a big bozo no on this one. I crossed the line, and I think I did it because I was just in the last. Now, when I say crossing the line, a lot of people aren't going to know what that means. Think about everything in film or a comic or that you're watching a stage play. Okay, so there's the pain of the stage. Okay, and so you have the character, and you can go on this side to see him, this side to see him, up, down. But as soon as you move the camera or the stage around the backside, it looks like all of a sudden they've changed places. And that's what crossing the line does. And I did that in that second panel because I think because actually he should be facing the other way as he's going into the thing. And I think what happened was I did the bottom panel and I had him probably facing the other way, but then I flipped the bottom panel. So I was like, I got to buy into it one way or the other. So I just sucked and put it in.
Yeah, I mean, now that you say it, I see what you're saying. So he should have.
He should be looking. He should be the other way.
Facing the other way.
He should be the other way, and the bottom panel should also be the other way. But I think when I tried to flip them after I did them, and I was, again, you're always on a deadline at a certain point. It's like, I would have to redo, that bottom panel completely to make it work. I can't just flip it. And so,
yet the camera work on this follows that perfectly. You've got him on the left and the villain on the right, left, right, and then, smash close up. They all stay on the same axis.
Yeah. Well, you want to, again, that's one of the things I learned from Todd is you got to move that camera. You want to move that camera. I'll do, the close-up, extreme close-ups, whatever. And that really helps with dynamics on the page. He would always call like a lot of times you'll see young people when they first start doing this stuff, it's like everything will be the same sort of distance as in the second page, that top panel. So everything will be about that size characters in every panel, right? And it just kills the dynamics of the page. You want to move around. Todd would call those page a polite page. It's like you want to have the dynamics. You want to go in. Especially if you look back at some of those great ones that Greg did and Spawn. You'd often get the big the crop of just the eye. That extreme close up kind of thing. So But if we're talking about coloring again, if we look at that last page and look at the top panel, so that's just using, again, like I was talking about, focus. So boom, we have the light hitting that middle section, and even framing from the shadow conditions I have going behind the characters to really get that focus right in the middle.
So where is the light source on this?
It's a cheat. There would have to be there'd have to be a light bulb
Center,
in the
right?
top part, middle of the thing. Yeah, it's a cheat.
But it looks cool because you get
Yeah,
the shadows from the stairs, you get the shadows from the guns,
we
you
get the
get all,
shadows from the people. That really helps the dynamics.
it's a cheat, but it's a good cheat because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Sometimes that's the argument at the end of the day. Is this right? Is this absolutely correct the way it's supposed to be? Is it cool? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, okay.
That'll do.
Yeah.
Well, but that's it. And I mean, and also you carried through, I noticed, that orange theme while outside, and then when he came
Yeah.
inside,
So it
it got a
changed.
lot more
So
saturated.
we were in a different room, different place.
Mike, you see how much we're
And
learning?
even leading you in on that second page top panel,
Yeah.
you can see as the edge of the door is slightly ajar, and that color is in there
Oh, look at
going
that.
into that room.
Mike, we could never do this.
I could never do this now, but it looks cool.
Again, I've been blessed because I worked with again so many great people who are willing to share.
Yeah, but you still have to do this. I mean, even if you shared it with me and Mike, we still couldn't do this. You're sharing it right now. I guarantee you I couldn't do this. All right, what are we looking at here, Brian?
This is a page from a couple pages from my graphic novel Shifter. And what's interesting, I think, about this, again, some of this is also planned to work with captions and dialogue, right? So he's just kind of waking up, So we have those first three panels that are just black, black, black. And he's also in a dark, there's no light. He's in a dark underground subterranean cavern he's been washed into. And he finally lights the light, And so everything is being lit by his glow stick at this point. Which again, when we talk about noir and talk about crime stuff, this is, single source lighting can be just great for that stuff.
Yeah, because it illuminates so hard on
But
the
it also focuses it because, notice on that panel that you're in right now, everything around the outside is dark. It's just a vignette. It's all going in here,
Right. All right, and now we jump to the next page, and he's still got his glow stick, and he's walking. Now we see the magnitude of the canyon,
and we can see the water that's rushing because the water. That's how he got in there.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he's going, like, look, go to the third panel. So the light will actually, frame him behind the wall, and we'll get a little bit on this skeleton that's been down there, and it just kind of gets him to the point because there's basically it's a river, so he can't swim back out, and he could only go back down, and he's seeing this person that obviously stayed there too long.
Yeah.
And he's got to, I got to just hold my breath and go down and see what happens, kind of thing. But again, it's just the idea of just kind of, here's the light, and now just figure out where all the shadows go, the color of the light, and that dictates all the cinematography that you're doing there.
Now, if I'm using the term correctly, Mike, feel free to make fun of me if I don't. The mother color is like a greenish.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Now, why greenish in this? Is it based on the light stick or something?
Yeah, I was just thinking that's colors of those light sticks.
Colors of the glow stick.
Yeah.
Come on, bud.
Well, Mike usually when Mike goes out clubbing, he usually has like an orange glow stick that he keeps in front of his front teeth.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right, so Brian, we're back to this. Just so people know what we're looking at here, AOF is what?
Architects of Fear. It was a graphic novel that I did with when I was editor-in-chief. I didn't do the art. I was editor-in-chief. It was Alexis Briclot did it, who's big concept art designer these days.
All right, so we're gonna get in here now. We're not gonna have time to show this right now unless we want to pull it up. Do you want to show? Can I show your watercolor real quick? Well,
Sure.
because I think, Mike, why don't you talk to Brian for a second, see if there's any questions whilst I try to find the.
We did have, let's see. Oh, they're talking about his glow stick lighting. It's kind of like the Indiana Jones torch lighting.
Yeah, that was a very fun book to do. Shifter. It was a Hitchcock sci-fi kind of thing at the end of the day, where he could become any animal from history to help solve the mystery that was going on.
Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
it was a lot of fun. It was a full painted graphic novel.
Another
We're going to
question.
do. We're going to see if we can show this now. Stop, and then we're going to share window. All right. So this is Brian. What are we share? Oh, I have to put it up on the screen.
There you go. Make it big.
So that's just a quick watercolor demo that when I'm at that festival, I usually do a demo. Like I only go to that festival once a week, so I sit down and I'll do a demo at the festival.
When I saw all the stuff you were posting on Instagram, I swore that you were doing like a digital cheat. Like you would take a picture and then just digitally color it. I was like, there's no way he's doing this by hand. I could not believe when you sent me this that you do this by hand.
Yeah.
What are you working in? What is that? I mean,
Watercolor.
What's that?
It's watercolor.
Oh, that's what it is, Mike. We don't have watercolors.
Yeah, if I had the watercolors, then everything would be easy.
Yeah, it would be totally like it would be a no-brainer. So, Brian, that's what it is. I feel a little better knowing that it was just watercolor.
That's what's holding you back, bud.
Well, you know what? I had to have a reason, and then the other one. We're gonna go back this way. Where's my? Oh, did I lose the PowerPoint?
Yes, talent would also help, bud.
Talent? Who has time for talent?
As long as you got watercolors, what else?
On a YouTube channel.
Someone was asking really quick about color theory, and color theory only changes pretty much depending on styles or what's popular at the time. Because sometimes you'll have like in the '90s, shiny and saturated colors was more the way to go. But generally, the rules of warm and cool, and when I teach color harmonies, analogous and complementary and things, all those things apply still today.
Now, we won't have time to show the whole thing, but Mike, keep Brian busy for a second.
You can always just slide through it, buddy. You could speed it up. But yeah, there was another question that came. What was the other one that I already answered that one? What was the one that was just before that one? So I think we skipped over that one.
Oh yes, and she said you color very cinematically. Do you color differently today with comics being digitally shown as opposed to them having in print?
No, same. I mean, we're doing our first webtoons later this year, and that's a different layout. So you have to think about color will affect panels more than page layout at that point, because you're just doing these long, thin, webtoons. But no, it's still the same. It's more, the color is determined by really what the artwork and what's going to complement the artwork. Is a better flat style for that particular artwork? Is a better fully rendered? Is a better watercolor? Is a better in an oil painting style? So it really, and the story. So that's what really dictates. Because again, think cinematographer. So you're there to make the product better and enhance it. But there you go.
Now, your swatches, are these selected specifically in advance of doing this piece?
Well, that's no. So the trick to the swatches is those are the same swatches that I had from 1993. One of the most important parts in having those swatches is when I move from computer to computer, I know what those colors are supposed to look like. So I can tell if I'm on a computer that's contrasty or warm temperature or cool temperature. I always recommend a digital artist, because I pretty much never pull from those colors these days. But I know they're great tool for knowing when I move from computer to computer what I'm dealing with. And it's funny because there's actually in there, there's in the first band, the really important things were again Cho Chido, the some of the top bands, which are like neutral gray ramp, warm gray ramp, and cool gray ramp. You know, those are some of the most important colors in coloring that there are. And then it's funny, you know, as I look through that chart too, there's from Codename Strike Force, which was one of the first books that I colored. There's Strikers Blondes in there. There's Black Anvils Blues. There's some Ripclaw Reds in there in the palette. So yeah. And then what you're looking at here is a tint style coloring. So essentially, it's having shades of gray, and it's like I call it the ophthalmologist school of coloring. It's great for new colorists because really you're tinting and you're using interactively these the hue and saturation controls and stuff to vary the colors, so you can get like, oh, that works better than that. You know, so you get the ophthalmologist better 1, better 2, better 3, better 4. It's great for starting colorists. So we just hit replace color, and I can start playing with color in the shadow conditions. I can play with color in the light, and just lay down basic colors to begin with, and just everything else is kind of a dialing in. But you need to have artwork that is fully shaded like this one was. So it's not just black and white. This would have worked very well if I knew this technique back with the Black Panther days.
This is like hypnotic, right, Mike?
Yeah. I watch this and I'm like, I'd open up all those windows and just not know anything of what's happening.
Yeah, it's a great, you know, it's when this is like one of the, in my classes, this is one of the techniques that I'll show them and go like, you know, listen, if you're not sure about doing this stuff, this is the technique for you. Because chances are, like me, most artists can render before they really understand color. And this way you can let your eye decide what works, what doesn't work. You know, again, you can surprise yourself, because that's half the thing too. Is like I'll often do multiple versions of things I'm working on, because even at this stage of my career, sometimes you just have to see it, you know, or just play with it. You know, it's like I often tell people, you know, whether it's sculpture, painting, whatever it is, it's like, you know, when you think you're done with it, let the yeast rise overnight. Look at it again in the morning. You know, because you're going to see sometimes your eyes can trick yourself. You can get used to certain contrast, you get certain color and stuff, and a fresh eyes, and especially for writing, that's definitely the case. You come back at it after a day, and you can really see, oh yeah, that was dumb. Why did
All
I
right.
do
So
that?
two things. One is what is this, and where can they see the final version of this? And then two, you mentioned class again. Where are the classes?
So I teach at Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and so you have to be enrolled in
Oh,
Minneapolis.
so you're remote then?
Yes.
Remote. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. So anybody that's watching this now can give you their money and they can learn this stuff.
Well, that's through Minneapolis College of Art and Design, so they have to enroll in Minneapolis College of Art and Design for that. But
But
if you
they don't
go,
have to be in Southern California.
no, but if you go to digitalarttutorials.com, my tutorial site, there's dozens of tutorials you can download.
He's so nice, isn't he, Mike?
Yeah.
All right, we're about halfway through, so we're gonna pick back up, and we're gonna tell people that they can watch the rest of this on the YouTuberies, and we're gonna make sure that we give enough time for Brian. Hold on, that's not what I want, Brian. I want to do this. Mike, talk to Brian. Just keep.
Well, we get some questions from the audience. Do people go right into the weeds with having specific monitors and settings?
Most people don't, because it's not as necessary as it once was. When I was first starting, I mean, CRT monitors were all over the freaking place, color-wise. Really, well, we did a lot of hard proofing back in the day to really make sure we knew what we were getting, because the monitors were so bad, and they had like bad viewing angles. You tilt your head this way or the other way, and the colors would all shift. Um, so yeah, these days though, not so much. Not so much. They've all gotten a lot better.
They got a question, Mike?
I
Or
mean,
can
you
we
can now. I mean, so when I started in '93, I worked. You had to buy the most expensive Mac that there was to color a comic book page. Okay, that was $10,000. Okay.
Yikes.
Now this in my hand is probably 10 times more powerful than that computer was, and a lot of my, students and even, myself, I'll pull out my, my tablet, I can color on paint. I can even do 3D and stuff on the tablets now and stuff. So
All right,
it's not like it used to be. It used to be that big. That's why the original early digital coloring companies were all studios, because you had to have somebody with enough money to buy the computers.
All right, Brian, we're going to take a look into the world of your world here. There's a lot of stuff here. It seems like you're an art book collector, or is this mostly your personal collection of stuff that you love? Is it stuff that you've worked on? I see paintings on the floor. Is everything. I don't know where to land my eye.
Yeah, it is everything. There are things that I've worked on. I did so many. If you look at probably one of these little shelves, you'll see I did tons of Marvel licensing work. So like from popsicles to Monopoly games and stuff with Marvel characters I did back in the day. There's a good section of my stuff, but there's also stuff that I just like. I always tell young artists, listen, if you want to do something new, look look to the past, right? So this is an old 40 illustrators.
Huh.
This is from 1950, I think this book is. And
wow.
You can see artists that you've never seen before. Oh, that's another great tip for anybody out there. There's one of the biggest art auction places, Heritage Auctions, which is ha.com. I always tell my students to check this out. You can sign up for free, and they have high-res scans of everything. I mean, from illustrators to painters to Frazetta to N.C. Wyeth to Rockwell to John Buscema's roughs, to all these things. High-res scans of these things that you can just do a search for, pull them up, zoom in. You could, a lot of learning and a lot of inspiration can come from that stuff.
Yeah, they make those beautiful books which you can like open it and it's got the description, but yeah, you can find them on the internet and
yeah, their full site is there with high-res scans. I really recommend looking at certain painters like the Hildebrandt brothers worked in acrylics, so they had to do like band color next to each other to do their transitions. And you can zoom in there and you can see, how does this guy get from a warm yellow to a purple shadow condition on flesh, and you can see band colors, what the transition is.
Wow.
Great site for doing this stuff. But yes, I love books. I love print. I have. That's my home, in my home office.
All right, let's show what else we got here, because you have a pretty impressive collection of stuff. Let me go back. This is your part of your bookcase, and then this art table with the cool Marvel Knights.
Yeah, we got our team jackets from Nancy Casada back then. But yeah, that's my my art table. If you go over to the bookshelf, you'll see, like, if you go zoom in and go closer on that, you'll see up on the top, move more to the top, you'll see like that was a Hulk Frisbee that I did back in the day.
You think
and
you save one of everything that you do, your house would be loaded.
yeah, well, the fun and a lot of on the top shelf too. There's a lot of what's also been a blessing in my career is most of my stuff gets also published internationally. So it's always a kick when you get like the Polish version of your book back, or the French version, or and even better than that is getting to travel to those wonderful European shows that are just wonderful.
Yeah, I got somebody gave me this. This is the
Yeah.
Japanese version of my book. I doubt I got my royalties on that, but I was just really pleased to get it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's just wonderful to get that stuff.
All
But yeah,
right.
Hulk on that top part, and the top line has a bunch of Spawn stuff. Got a big anomaly sticking out. I have a bunch of the of course the wonderful Scott Dembear artist edition stuff that he puts together that are wonderful. Which are also great for being weights when I'm mounting watercolor on top of on because I do my watercolors a little differently, because when I first did the watercolors, normally they're matted and under glass and stuff. And I was in my first show in New York, and I was next to oil painters and acrylics and stuff like that on canvas and stuff, and it just looked like freaking student work as a result. So I had to figure out a way around that. And so now what I do is I mount the watercolor to birch board, and then I put a Dorland's wax medium over the surface. And so they're now waterproof, and they don't have to be behind glass. So they can be framed, just like oils, just like acrylics,
Huh.
and be next to them in a show. And, people are perfectly happy. I can throw water on them; they'll bead right off because of the wax that's on them.
I'd prefer you didn't.
Yeah, it's okay. It works.
It's a neat trick, but
Anyway, what I feel like some of my success that I've recently had in painting is the osmosis from putting like a great big Buscema artist edition and Frazetta artist edition and a Wally Wood on top of my art when it's getting fused to things. It's getting fused with a little bit of their moxie.
I'm sure Dunbeer would be very happy to hear that, and that you've literally by osmosis absorbed the greats.
Yeah.
All right, what else we got here? So we've got this stuff, which I was fascinated when I saw this. What is this?
So those are some of the 3D reliefs that I've been doing. Again, when I was talking about the whole 3D printing stuff. Like here's.
Now, what is this? How are you making these things?
So these are off my 3D printer. They're sculpted.
Wait, you skipped a step. Like, how did you come? You made this on the computer in 3D, and
Yeah,
then
so it's sculpted in ZBrush.
Wow.
Nice.
And then printed out. I mean, normally the color is kind of this base. See that
Yeah.
base plastic color there, and then I'll do a patina. I'll do a copper paint that can then take a patina. So when you spray it with the patina stuff, it will oxidize it, so it looks like it's old metal, kind of thing.
I want one.
Yeah, Brian, what's up, man? You're creating all kinds of and people can buy these from you?
I have a page up on my Haberlin.com site. I sell prints on there and the books and stuff like that. But right now I haven't. I've been just too busy. I haven't put any.
Yeah, but how about for Mike and me? How much are they? I mean, like, forget everybody else.
Discount.
All right, we're getting close to the end here, Brian. This is more of the Brian universe.
Yeah, so you can see like a bunch of the sculpts on that the first image. Those are a bunch of my 3D sculpts.
Wow.
Got my
Star Trek there, huh?
Got my Holy Trinity there of Kirk, Spock, and McCoy. And then, lots of little fine art stuff. My characters like Hellcop and Treen from Sonata and Love Inc. and, all these little characters. Got my little ink pot award over there.
And then you fitness, I guess. Maybe you do some exercise here and there.
Yeah, every morning I gotta do something.
Mike, that's part of the problem.
That and watercolors. Yeah.
That and watercolors. All right, let's just keep going. Brian, the way we do one piece of advice is pretty simple. We're going to go off camera. You give yourself a 3 count, and then you'll say, what's one piece of advice I wish I had received earlier in my career? And then you give us that advice. So I'm going to remove Mike, and then I'm going to remove me, and then give yourself a 3 count.
Well, I would say that don't worry about making mistakes. Just keep moving forward. That would probably be the best. Best. And don't, again, don't. The other piece of advice is a lot of young artists that I see will come out of art school or whatever and immediately take some sort of art job that is kind of meaningless to them, like maybe texture artists and then computer games, and you get worked like crazy. My first jobs were basically as office assistants, and I was so ready to work on my art when I got home and get better until I was good enough to really get a job as an artist full time. So that's a big recommendation. I always recommend that my students, don't necessarily take that just because it's like painting signs. If you don't want to paint signs, it's going to pull your art, mana from you. I went home and I kept getting better and working harder and stuff. So I give you 2. You got 2 rough ones. Yeah.
Thank you, Brian. That was good. Okay. So you can find Brian on Instagram, which treat. Oh,
Brian, you are somebody's new hero, Redheaded Ed. Thanks for being a
Thanks.
great guest.
Redheaded Ed actually is an animator, Brian. So we know Redheaded Ed from. So Brian, your Instagram is a delight. There's so much there, from videos to process pieces, just to the digital art and the physical art that you're doing. Everybody should be following you on your Instagram. It also links to other areas. You have a new book that is coming out, I think.
It's out now.
Where is it? Where can people buy this, Brian?
Comic book stores, Amazon, bookstores.
And what will they find inside here?
There are 100 paintings of my recent paintings in there. So,
wow. So this is all the stuff that I thought you were cheating on, and you were doing, like finding pictures of models and then painting over them. This is real. You really painted these.
Yeah.
Oh, Mike, my respect for Brian just went up.
Yeah, I don't know why you thought he was cheating. He's an artist.
Well, he's a digital. The guy did digital before anybody else. I just assumed that this was. I mean, look at how many he did. He's got 100 pages of paintings.
Yeah. Well, he's got that 2,759 pages thing, so he knows what he's doing.
And Victor Medina, obviously, very, very grateful there, Brian. Let's see what else we got here.
And
Okay,
Victor's very talented too.
He is very talented, Victor Medina. You can find us on all the socials. You can find us on Patreon. We want to thank our Patreon supporters. Of them, 3 of them, we're now making $6 a month from Patreon, and we're pretty excited about that. Mike's able to show that. You can also find Mike. He's writing his novel once a week on Substack for free, Brian. You can just go ahead and read Mike's novel, and he's not going to charge you anything for it. And Deanna, who could not make it tonight because she was feeling ill, also has a Patreon. She's blogging pretty regularly. Brian, we're going to put you in the green room for just a moment while Mike and I do our final sign-offs. Mike, what do you have for Brian? I think you had pulled some stuff for Brian in the green room.
I got him some yogurt covered strawberries called
yogurt covered strawberries.
Yeah, yogis, I think they're called.
They are yogis.
Yeah. They're pretty good. I thought they were fitting because they're very colorful.
They are very colorful. Brian, I hope that you're happy with your yogis. Just stand by. Don't go anywhere. Mike, I am like totally just, I'm thrilled to have Brian as a friend and on for the show, but I am depressed that I could not do one of the things that he just demonstrated.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I see him just clicking around on those, the color swatches, just changing the colors. And I'm like, I wouldn't even be able to do that. Mine would come out terrible.
Yeah, hold on. Let me ask Brian. Brian, are you like 150 years old? Like, please tell me there's like something that like you maybe take a lot of vitamin C. What is it? Why are you able to do this? Is it the yogis?
Well, I mean, again, that's the other thing that I think is really important to young artists is if I was an pro athlete, my career would have been over 35 years ago. If you're an artist and you keep the passion and you keep wanting to learn and you keep wanting to get better, you can get better and better and better. I can destroy the Brian in his 20s. I can destroy the Brian in his 30s. I can destroy the Brian in his 40s. I can destroy the Brian in his 50s. I'm in my 60s now. That's the great part about being an artist is if you don't, granted, there's still health issues. I mean, something could happen, but as long as you keep the passion, you can keep getting better.
I can't think of a better place to leave that than right there. This has been Crime Month. We thank. Hold on. Let's put the outro music on. So we hope you guys enjoyed the programming for Crime Music. We thank Brian for coming. Your generosity is tremendous. We thank you so much. People, go follow Brian, subscribe to all of his things, and buy his book. I'm going to buy your book, Brian. Even if you were going to give it to me, I'm still going to buy it anyway. We thank you so much for joining us. And we will see you guys next Tuesday, as we see you every Tuesday at 8 o'clock on this channel. Thank you, Brian. Thanks, Mike. And thank everybody for coming here. Hang in the green room, Brian. Don't go away.
Okay.